Sa ating episode 2 ng series ng coronavirus discussion, we're gonna discuss about the cause, modes of transmission at ang iyong pathophysiology. If you wanna learn how to easily and better understand your coronavirus, you stay tuned. Hi everybody, my name is Neo Gavin. I'm a registered nurse. I do have a degree in medical surgical nursing. I create beauty, inspirational, reaction, and nursing educational contents to help all the nursing students with their studies. If that's something that you are interested in, consider subscribing. If you're already a subscriber though, thank you so much for your love and support. I upload my nursing educational contents 2 to 3 times a week, so make sure that you subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so that you will be the very first to watch my newest uploads. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up and share it with your friends because that will really help me know that you like to see more contents like this. Without further ado, let's jump into the video. Hi everybody, like I said, we're gonna be doing a series of coronavirus discussion, and I really want to apologize to all of you guys who've been waiting for this. I know that there's a lot of you who've been waiting for this, but I just really want to make sure that I have the most accurate information before I serve it to you. Yes, for today's discussion, we're going to discuss about the modes of transmission, the life cycle, and the pathophysiology of your coronavirus. Alright, so in order for me to do that, I will switch back to my PC and I'll see you guys in a bit. Hi everybody, welcome nga sa ating formal discussion ng iyong coronavirus disease of 2019. Yes, oo nga po, ito nga po yung part 2 ng ating discussion. Kung maalala nyo, nag-release ako ng video about nursing discussion on how are you gonna remember the signs and symptoms, yung cause, yung epidemiology ng iyong COVID-19. Kung hindi mo pa napapanood yun ha, baby loves, ilalagay ko siya dyan. Make sure na i-check mo yan para mas lalo mo maintindihan ha. Like I said, we're gonna do a series of videos talking about coronavirus disease of 2019 because I know that this is going to be the major topic of, you know, upcoming exams, whatever exam you're having or you're gonna take in the future. It could be like academic exams sa schools or sa mga board exams. Sa board exams, sa NCLEX, kung saan pa, prometrics, kung ano pa haan, for sure lalabas itong concept na to. Kaya nga, ang goal natin, mahalaga na ngayon pa lang yes, alam mo na kung ano yung coronavirus disease of 2019, ano ba yung mga dapat mong tandaan, at kahit na pagbalik ta rin ng corona, alam mo siya, okay? And not just because we wanna know this academically, the main goal really is to understand kung sino ba tong kalaban natin.
Hindi ba ayaw mo naman sumabak sa gera na wala kang kaalam-alam, nakakagigil ka.
Hey! Ready ka na ba? Okay. So, let me just introduce to you our objectives for today's discussion. Of course, we're gonna discuss transmission, the virus replication, or yung life cycle, pathophysiology, ooh, ayan na siya. And we're gonna have a quick review and a short quiz. Yes. So, ready ka na? Ilaban na natin to. Let's proceed. Alright, so medyo mahaba po ito kaya bear with me. Let's gonna start our discussion with the modes of transmission. Okay. So, paano nga ba naipapasa ang SARS-CoV-2? Pag sinabi nating SARS-CoV-2, ano nga ulit ibig sabihin nito? Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2. Okay? So, kung gusto mong malaman kung ano yung mga detailed discussion natin about dito, about sa signs and symptoms, what's this? Sa epidemiology ng yung SARS-CoV-2, I highly suggest na i-check out mo yung first video na ginawa natin, yung first video dito sa entry natin sa series na to. Okay? Now, when we talk about modes of transmission ng iyong SARS-CoV-2, there's actually a bunch of research that is coming out. At like I said, mahirap gumawa ng really specific or give you like a definite answer when it comes to the modes of transmission of your SARS-CoV-2. Since ito nga ay ongoing pandemya, mismong yung WHO and yung CDC is still doing the research, and every day po laging may update about sa coronavirus. coronavirus. Now, there's actually some theories that say that coronavirus can be passed on through oral fecal route. Now, paano mo sinabing oral fecal route? Pag sinabi nating oral fecal route, ito yung mga viruses or microorganisms na napapasa through oral fecal route sa bibig at sa pagdumi. Now, nililink nila ito sa bathroom use. At taong may corona, gumamit ng CR, hindi naghugas ng kamay at hinawakan niya yung ibang mga parte ng CR na yon, tapos may isang gumamit, after niya, mahawakan niya yung mga surfaces, pwedeng mapasa sa kanya yon kapag nakapasok dun sa portal of entry ng katawan niya. Now, isa pang magandang halimbawa nito kung bakit may mga studies na lumalabas na it could be oral fecal route is they actually gave an example sa mga faulty plumbing system. Alam mo yon, kapag may mga leak minsan sa isang neighborhood, sa isang apartment o condominium, pag merong isang tao doon na nag-positive at faulty plumbing system, pwede magkaroon ng leakage mapunta doon from one household to the other through the plumbing system. Again, itong oral fecal route, marami pang ongoing debates in regards to if this is really the primary modes of transmission of your SARS-CoV-2. But yes, ito yun isa sa mga kinoconsider natin. Alam mo, isang magandang halimbawa nito, naalala nyo sa China, yung parang, I don't know if it's an island that they built a facility on that island, or I don't know, a province, and then that's where they put on all they admitted all of their patients who are positive to have COVID. That's where all those patients are receiving their treatment, and after all those patients were being cured of corona, what they did is that they turned down that actual facility. Ang rationale kasi nun, parang may nabasa ako na pwede siya mapasa through oral fecal route kapag may mga faulty plumbing system sa iyong neighborhood. May isa pa, yung respiratory droplet. Now, this is actually the primary modes of transmission when it comes to your SARS-CoV-2. Ito nga siya. So, pag sinabi nating respiratory droplet, sneezing, coughing, and talking. Now, diniscuss ko rin to dun sa first discussion natin, sa first video natin about coronavirus. I-check out mo yun, okay? So, ano ba yung portal of entry ng yung coronavirus? Pahapiawan lang natin to. Okay, so we have the T-zone area of your face. You have your eyes, your nose, and your mouth. Kumbaga, ito yung door para makapasok sila sa katawan ng host cell. So, ano bang common sa tatlong to? Meron sila mga mucous lining. Nandito kasi ating mga mucous membranes. So, ang theory, kapag may isang taong bumahing, nag-cough, nag-sneeze, at na-lodge yun sa mata, sa ilong, or sa bunganga talaga girl, sa bibig ng isang pasyente, pwede siyang ma-infect ng coronavirus. Again, kaya nga natin pinapractice yung pagsusuot ng, di ba, mga face shield at yung face mask, kasi you really want to protect the T-zone area of the face. Now, there's actually some studies that says that coronavirus can stay on a surface for 24 hours.
What?
Palitan ko lang yung cursor. 24 hours. Anong sabi? 24 hours. What does it mean? Kapag may bumahing na isang pasyente at napunta yung droplet na yun sa isang surface, sa table for example, pwede kang maka-expect na yung coronavirus ay magstay doon for 24 hours. Right? At kapag nagsisneeze or nagka-cough yung pasyente, it could actually travel from how long or how far from the primary patient. 3 to 6 feet.
Hey!
Ito ay kung pag-uusapan natin yung droplet transmission, 3 to 6 feet. Now, kung hindi mo pa napapanood yung ginawa kong video about sa droplet precautions, panoorin mo siya, ililink ko rin siya dyan ha. Kasi makakatulong rin yun sa'yo para mas maintindihan mo yung concept ng coronavirus. Okay, now, there's actually some study that says that coronavirus can be potentially what? Airborne. Now, pag sinabi nating airborne, ano ba to? Ang airborne, ibig sabihin nagsistay siya sa air for 3 hours. So, for example,
Nagsishare ka ng office sa isang taong yung katrabaho mo may corona, so nasa air conditioned room kayo, bumahing siya doon kahit na malayo ka sa kanya, mga 3 to 6 feet ka away from that person na nag-positive sa corona, tapos bumahing siya without really practicing that coughing etiquette. Ano mangyayari? Yung droplet na yon, yung particles na yon, yung droplet nuclei na yun, magsistay yun sa air for 3 to 4 hours. So pag ikaw pumasok ka sa opisina niya at nalanghap mo, hindi ka naka-PPE, pwede ka pa rin ma-infect ng corona. Again, I would just like to point out that this modes of transmission, yung fecal oral, pati airborne, this is still an ongoing debate when it comes to the modes of transmission for SARS-CoV-2. Ano yung pinakasolidong batayan o masasabi natin pinaka-primary modes of transmission at proven modes of transmission ng yung corona as per WHO and yung CDC? Respiratory droplet. So, let's say na-expose ka sa isang taong may corona. Once the virus enters the body, it will travel through the respiratory tract sa baga. Okay? So, kasi ito ang SARS-CoV-2, anong tinitira nito? Lungs. So, yung respiratory tract. So, magta-travel siya doon sa katawan ng tao mula sa na-expose ka, nabahingang ka, pumasok yun sa tumama yung virus sa mata mo or yung mga droplet na yun, nalanghap mo, mga ganyan. So, what will the virus do? It will travel to your respiratory tract. Now, para makita natin, i-zoom in natin siya now 100% dito sa alveoli. Kasi guys, buburahin ko lang to I really wanna touch this part ng ating burahin ko lang to sorry. Nakopya mo na ba yon? Kopyahin mo na lang. Okay, balikan mo na lang yung video na to. Pero I really wanna touch this area. Ano bang tawag dito? Ano bang anatomical structure to ng ating lungs? Again, lungs to tapos i-zoom in lang natin siya dito sa ating alveoli. Yes, or alveolus kasi isa lang siya. Charat! Basta gano'n. Gusto ko lang tandaan nyo ito, anatomical structure ng iyong alveoli. 3 specific structure ng iyong alveolus. So, sa isang alveolus, anong makikita mo doon? Makakakita ka doon ng alveolar type 1 cell, alveolar type 2 cell, at ang iyong alveolar macrophage. These 3, tandaan mo siya, utang na loob, ay malaki yung significant nitong mga body parts na to, itong mga structure na to, itong mga composition ng iyong alveoli sa pag-aaralan natin sa mga susunod na slides, lalo na sa pathophysiology, okay? So again, meron ka dito ang alveolar type 1 cell. Ito siya Kita mo ba siya? Ano bang function ng yung type 1 alveolar cell? Simple lang, siya yung bahala sa gas exchange. Dito nangyayari lahat ng mga gas exchange kapag pumasok yung air sa ating respiratory tract. Ano tong type 2? Wow! Yung type 2 alveolar cell, ito yung responsible sa production ng iyong surfactant. Surfactant. What is surfactant, you guys? Naalala mo pa tong surfactant na to? O kung hindi mo naalala, familiar ba? Surfactant. Sorry sa penmanship ko Surfactant. Not fucked. Surfact. Char. Okay. Anong function ng yung surfactant, guys? Hindi ba yung surfactant natin ang responsible to really maintain the surface tension of your, of the alveoli para hindi siya mag-collapse, okay? Again, surface tension. Pag nakakita ka ng term, nakarinig ka ng term na surfactant, iisipin mo na agad, siya yung bahala para ma-maintain yung hindi mag-collapse yung lungs through maintaining a balance in the surface tension. Huwag ka mag-alala, pag-aaralan natin yan sa mga susunod pa nating slide, okay? But I really want you to pay attention to the things or to their function and kung ano yung itsura nila. Ayan. Next, meron tayong alveolar macrophage. Ano yung macrophage? Ano yung function nito? Now, itong macrophage na to, this is actually responsible for detection of phagocytosis and destruction of bacteria and other harmful organisms such as your viruses. Now, here's the SARS-CoV-2 as it enters the alveolus. Makikita mo dyan. Oh, ayan siya. Yes! So again, ito ang ating modes of transmission ha. Tandaan mo. Now, proceed na tayo. Sana tayo ngayon? Viral replication. Ooh, interesting. Now, on this slide, we will going to discuss composition ng iyong virus natin ng SARS-CoV-2 at ang life cycle. Now, bakit gusto kong pag-aralan natin itong composition nung SARS-CoV-2? Pag sinabi ko composition, yung parts niya. Kasi malaki po yung malaki yung parts ng virus na to, tama, sa ginagawa niya o kung paano siya makaka-penetrate o makaka-infect ng kanyang host cell. Bakit din natin kailangan pag-aralan yung life cycle? Kasi malaking bagay ito. Replication nga eh. Pag alam natin yung life cycle ng SARS-CoV-2, mas lalo natin siyang mauunawaan. Now, we will also answer the question, how is this virus infect the cell and use this cellular machinery? Okay? So, ready ka na? Hinga. Ano yan? Yan yung structure ng iyong SARS-CoV-2. I-brush up lang natin to ng mabilis lang. Nakikita mo to? Ito ang iyong protein spikes. Actually, lahat yan protein spikes. Pero ang pinaka-significant dyan na gusto ko talagang maalala mo, Shotaka, ay itong S-spike na to. S-spike to or spike glycoprotein. Pwede mo rin siyang tawaging S-spike. Now, ano pang gusto kong maalala mo? Gusto kong maalala mo ito. Itong genomic RNA. Yes, kukunin ko to ha. Anong gusto kong maalala mo? Ito at ito. Actually, lahat gusto kong maalala mo. Pero specifically, itong mga parts na to. Nakikita mo pa ang structure ng ating SARS-CoV-2. Mapapansin mo sa kanya meron siyang single-stranded, positive single-stranded RNA o yung genomic RNA. So, ang lagay natin dito, positive single-stranded RNA. Napakalaking factor po niyan kung paano nakaka-infect or kung paano ginagawa ng kagaguhan itong virus na to sa katawan ng nating mga tao. Ito po yung tinatawag natin, ito Ayan yung positive single-stranded RNA. Na yung iba nating mga parts, meron din tayong dyang envelope small membrane, protein E, ito siya, hemagglutinin esterase, HE, ito. Meron din tayong nucleoprotein N, nandito naman siya. At meron din tayong membrane protein, ito siya. Okay? Diba? Ang dali lang. Kalma ka. Char. Shootak ka. Okay, pinag-aralan natin kanina itong SARS-CoV-2 transmission. Naalala mo pa ba yan? Di ba sinabi natin pwede siyang oral fecal route, respiratory droplet, and airborne. So, pag napasok siya sa respiratory tract, saan siya mag-lodge? Saan siya pupunta? Dito sa iyong alveolus. Now, I want you to really understand the movement of your SARS-CoV-2. Once nakakapasok na itong SARS-CoV-2 mo sa iyong alveoli, saan siya unang-unang nag-a-attach? Tanong, dito ba sa alveolar sa type 1 pneumocyte? Dito ba? Pag sinabi kong type 1 pneumocyte at alveolar type 1 cell, isa lang yun ha. Pneumocyte, alveolar, parehas lang yun. Okay? So, ganun din yung other term sa kanya. Dito ba sa, mabalik tayo sa tanong, saan siya nag-a-attach? Diba nakapasok na siya? Nasa na tayo? Huwag ka maliligaw, bebe. Shoot ka. So, nakapasok na siya sa alveoli. Hindi naman siya nandyan lang, tas lilinga-linga lang siya, itong virus na to. Ano yung hahanapin niya? So, huwag ka malilito sa kwento. Na-expose ka sa may corona, pumasok sa'yo through the T-zone area of your face, napunta sa respiratory tract, nandito na siya sa alveoli. Once sa alveoli na siya, saan siya mag-enter? Sa iyong type 2 pneumocyte. Diba? Ito yung kanyang paboritong puntahan, tambayan ng bayan. Ito ang iyong zoom in 10% ng yung type 2 pneumocyte, okay? Na anong gagawin niya kapag nandun na siya sa type 2 pneumocyte? So let's say ito si Corona, si Cynthia Villar, chares, na shoot ka. The S-spike, kaya di ba sabi ko sa iyo, aralin natin, pahapiyawan natin yung anatomy na yung SARS-CoV-2. Itong S-spike na to, naalala mo pa to? Yes. The S-spike will attach to the what? ACE2 receptor. Now, what is your ACE2 receptor? This is also called the angiotensin converting enzyme 2. Now, what is ACE2? Now, this is actually a protein that involves the entry point of the SARS-CoV-2 to hook into and infect a wide range of human cells. Para kasing ganito yun ako isipin mo. Itong corona, ito yung susi. Itong ACE ito yung pintuan. Itong S-spike nitong corona, isipin mo yan yung pinaka-actual key. Kailangan niyang ma-attach itong S-spike niya saan? Sa ACE2 para mabuksan yung pinaka-type 2 pneumocyte at makapasok siya doon. Gets? Once the virus was able to penetrate the type 2 pneumocyte, it will start to release its what? Positive single-stranded RNA in where? Cytoplasm. Nung nakapasok na siya, anong ginawa niya? Nirelease niya na ang kanyang chakra. Nirelease niya ang positive single-stranded RNA niya. Saan? Dito sa cytoplasm. Palikan lang natin, ano ibig sabihin ng cytoplasm mo? Pag sinabi mo cytoplasm, di ba dito yung part ng cell kung saan nangyayari lahat ng mga protein synthesis. From here, ano nang next? The virus can do two things. Tandaan mo to, baby labs. First, what it can do is that the virus can use the host cell's ribosomes and convert what? This positive single-stranded RNA to different what? Polyproteins. Yes. Ito yung polyproteins. Ginamit ng coronavirus ang host cell sa dalawang paraan. Una, gagamitin niya yon para mag-create ng mga polyproteins. Anong tawag sa process ng translating a sequence of messenger ang yung mRNA molecule to a sequence of amino acid during protein synthesis? What do you call that? That is the process of your translation. Okay? Translation, ito yung pagko-convert ng mRNA mo to a sequence of what? Of your amino acid during protein synthesis. Now, please note that translation occurs in the ribosome only. Kaya nga dito siya sa ribosome nangyari, hindi ba? Ano bang function ng iyong ribosome? Ribosome is actually responsible for what? Protein synthesis. Pag sinabi mong synthesis, definition of term tayo para hindi tayo naiiwanan. Ano yon? Combining to form by combining. Alright? Once na na-synthesize niya na to, this coronavirus o yung positive single-stranded RNA has the potential to what? To use another enzyme called your RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. Okay. Na ano ibig sabihin nito? Now, this means that it takes RNA to make more RNA. So, from this, magkikreate siya ng marami pang RNA o mga positive single-stranded RNA. Katulong ng anong enzyme? Itong RNA-dependent RNA polymerase. So, ang mangyari, dadami ang iyong positive single-stranded RNA. Now, going back to this polyproteins, ano na mangyayari? By the way, you guys, polyproteins are any proteins that is specifically produced by viruses. Now, these polyproteins will use another specific enzyme to create another viral components. This enzyme is called what? Proteinases. Itong polyproteins na to, gagamit siya ng enzyme na tinatawag nating proteinases to create what? Naalala nyo pa ba to? Pag sinabi nating proteinases, ano ba to? This is the breakdown of proteins into smaller polypeptides or a single amino acid. So kung iisipin mo, ganito po siya. Polyproteins plus proteinase is equal to what? Viral components. Naalala mo kanina, diniscuss natin yung mga viral components, yung composition ng iyong coronavirus. Ano ba yon? So itong mga to Anong makikita mo dyan? Meron ka dyang protein spikes, meron ka din dyang envelope small membrane, mga nucleoproteins, membrane, and hemagglutinin esterase. So, ayan siya. Viral component siya. So, anong mangyayari? Kapag meron ka dito mga viral components at meron ka ditong positive single-stranded RNA, pag kinumbine mo yan sila, anong mangyayari? Makakaproduce ka na ng isang virus o makakaproduce ka na ng sandamakmak na virus. At what will happen? What will happen? Once the virus has been formed, it will butt out from the type 2 pneumocyte and you just created the process of tons and tons of coronavirus. Yun siya. Ang bilis lang, 'di ba? Okay, so ayan, picturean mo na, baby loves. Okay, screenshot mo na, Laverne. Okay, so wag malilito ha. SARS-CoV-2 life cycle time pinag-aralan natin dito. Magmula sa modes of transmission, yung pagkaka-infect sa'yo, nakapasok sa baga mo, nag-attach sa, type 2 pneumocyte hanggang sa nandito na yung virus, hinanap niya yung angiotensin converting enzyme 2. Once na ma-attach yung S-spike dito sa iyong ACE2, ano mangyayari? Napasok niya. Ang chakra nilabas niya, ano yan? Ano tong chakra na to? Positive single-stranded RNA. Once na nakapasok na siya, ano yung dalawang bagay na gagawin ng virus na to? Una, gagamitin niya yung ribosome to create what? Polyproteins through the process of translation. Okay? After synthesizing these polyproteins, ano mangyayari? The coronavirus will use another enzyme called what is this? Your RNA dependent RNA polymerase to create more positive single-stranded RNA. Okay, ito siya. Now, going back here sa ating polyproteins, after sensitizing this, kailangan niya ng isa pang enzyme called proteinase. Proteinase plus polyproteins, nakakreate ka ng mga viral components. Nandyan na siya. Pag kumpleto na yung viral components mo, yung mga parts ng yung mga protein spikes, mga ganyan, ano pa ba mga viral components na diniscuss natin kanina? Meron ka membrane, nucleoproteins na naandyan. Kinumbine mo tong viral components with your positive single-stranded RNA, you just created tons and tons of SARS-CoV-2 virus. Once na nakreate na sila at dumami sila, it will butt out, lalabas yan sila, parang yes, happy fiesta, maglalabasan yan sila mula sa iyong type 2 pneumocyte at mapupunta na sila dito sa iyong pinaka-alveoli. Okay? Kalma, hinga. Kumakalma ka pa ba? Nakakahinga ka pa ba? Okay, now we were going to discuss your pathophysiology, okay? Now, we're gonna have the connection mula sa transmission papunta sa transmission hanggang sa process of replication at i-connect natin siya sa ating pathophysiology. Now, we have discussed about the modes of transmission and how the virus travels through the respiratory tract, tama? Now, we also have discussed about the life cycle and the process of replication of your SARS-CoV-2. Saan nga ulit nag-a-attach itong SARS-CoV-2? Sa type 1 or type 2 pneumocyte? Saan? Ang sagot, type 2 pneumocyte. Now, we know that the process of replication of your SARS-CoV-2 sa ating type 2 pneumocyte will cause damage. Yes, will cause damage to what? A part of your alveoli. It is your type 2 pneumocyte. Now, I'm going to change my cursor real quick, okay? Now, the beginning of pathophysiology will actually start from this, kung saan may damage na dito sa ating type 2 pneumocyte. Dahil sa process na to ng damage ng yung type 2 pneumocyte, this will actually initiate the release of your specific inflammatory mediators to stimulate what? Your alveolar macrophage. Anong gagawin ng yung macrophage? Once na na-stimulate siya, tandaan mo, ang function ng yung alveolar macrophage ay what? This is like yung parang sergeant at arms sa classroom. Siya yung tagapamahala ng peace and order, right? So kung may mga bacteria dyan, may viruses, may mga foreign bodies, ano gagawin niya? Patatalsikin niya yan. Ano ang function ng yung type 1? For gas exchange. Type 1 pneumocyte, gas exchange. Type 2 pneumocyte, that is for production of surfactant for your surface or maintaining the surface tension. Alright? Now, anong gagawin niya? Ipapalabas niya ang kanyang ang kanyang mga militar. Ang tawag sa kanyang mga militar ay cytokines or cytokines. Yes. Oo nga po. Now, ano-ano yung mga cytokines na to? Naalala mo pa sa interleukins 1, interleukin 6, at ang iyong tumor necrosis factor alpha. Huwag malilito, bebe laba. Itong alpha, interleukins 1, interleukins 1, interleukin 6, at ang yung tumor necrosis factor, collectively known sila as cytokines. Okay? So, wag malilito. Kapag may increased cytokines dito sa area na to ng yung alveoli, this will actually move where? To the bloodstream. Nakikita mo yung shifting? Ayun. Yes. Now, there's actually two things that will happen kapag nag-move itong mga cytokines na to sa bloodstream. Una, they will produce smooth muscle dilation. Kaya meron kang vasodilation. Pangalawa, they will cause increased capillary permeability by causing endothelial cell contraction. Tandaan mo to, vasodilation and increased capillary permeability as a result of what? Movement of or shifting o yung nag-move yung cytokines mula sa alveoli papunta sa iyong bloodstreams. Okay? Now, remember, with vasodilation and increased capillary permeability, this will lead to what? Nurses, anong sagot? Leaking of plasma proteins. Now, ang tanong, since meron na tayong leaking, nagli-leak na ang itong mga plasma proteins na to, ang tanong mo is saan siya nag-leak? Depende sa kung ano magsasabi ko ano yung magiging resulta niya. Huwag ka mag-alala, explain ko sa'yo. Kapag nag-leak ito saan? Sa interstitial spaces, dito. Fluid accumulation sa iyong interstitial spaces will compress what? Your alveoli. So, bakit? Paliwanag natin yung process ng compression. Ito normally ay may normal blood flow dyan. Nag-leak ang iyong plasma proteins dahil sa what? Sa shifting ng iyong cytokines mula sa alveoli papunta sa bloodstream. So nag-leak saan? Sa interstitial space. Ano mangyayari? Mako-compress niya tong alveoli mo. Kasi magre-request siya ng more space to accommodate that plasma proteins. Make sense? Now, ano namang mangyayari kapag nag-shift ay yung plasma proteins doon sa mismong alveoli? Paano? Alveoli. This will lead to what? Drowning of your surfactants. Okay, nurses, listen. Ano ang makikita mo sa loob ng isang alveolus? Di ba meron kang type 1, type 2, pneumocyte, at ang iyong macrophage? Tama? So, pag maraming fluids dyan sa loob, hindi na kinaya, yung iba nag-shed, yung iba na natili sa loob. Ano mangyayari sa type 2 pneumocyte mo? Malulunod yan. Ano mangyayari sa type 1 pneumocyte mo? Malulunod yan. Ano mangyayari sa iyong macrophage? Malulunod yan. Now, increase alveolar edema ang mangyayari nga po. Now, you need to understand that with increased alveolar edema, there is an increase what? Surface tension. Kapag nangyari yung increased surface tension, bakit may increased surface tension? Guys, wala nang surfactant, Nalunod na, 'di ba? Ano yung nagpo-produce ng surfactant mo? Type 2 pneumocyte. And with this increased surface tension, ano daw ang sabi? This will lead to increased collapsing pressure. Bakit? Bakit may collapsing pressure? Remember that surfactant is actually the one who maintains the surface tension, the normal surface tension of the lungs. If wala ng surfactants na nagme-maintain ng iyong surface tension, nagno-normalize ng iyong surface tension, what will happen to the alveoli? It will lead to collapse. Okay? Increased surface tension and collapsing pressure will actually lead to what? Your alveolar collapse. Kagaya nito. Pinakita ko lang sa inyo kung ano itsura ng alveoli mo. Na-compress yung alveoli mo. Bukod doon, ano nangyari? Yung ibang fluids na natili doon sa iyong mismong alveoli, causing what? Drowning of your surfactants, leading to increased surface tension and collapsing pressure. Paano to magmamanifest sa patient mo? Nurses. Kaya pala yung pasyente ko, what? May shortness of breath at may DOB. Kasi, the naturalesa sa katawan, ang compensatory mechanism ng katawan ng tao, na dahil Excuse me. I'm actually filming this one at night, so bear with me, okay? Now, dahil nagko-collapse na, nagsastart na mag-collapse ang aking alveoli, kailangan kong huminga ng maraming beses at huminga ng mag-create ng more increased work of breathing para makompensate itong nagko-collapse kong alveoli kasi poor na ang gas exchange ko. May increase akong surface tension that could lead to increased collapsing pressure. Tama ba? So kaya pala ang pasyente ko may shortness of breath at may DOB kasi nagko-compensate na pala siya mula dito sa alveolar collapse. Alveolar edema, nakokompress ang yung alveolus. Anong nangyayari? Nagsishrink. Ano nangyayari? Mas lumiliit yung space ng alveoli. Nawawala, nadadrown ang type 1 and type 2 pneumocyte. Ang type 1 is for gas exchange. Pag may tubig dyan, makakapag-gas exchange ba? Hindi. Kasi na-occupy ng fluid or nadadrown siya, natatanggal siya ng fluid, ng plasma proteins na naiwan dito sa loob. Kaya nangyayari na drown ang iyong type 1, type 2, and ang iyong macrophage. Okay? Now, nurses, very important to. Balikan natin ang ating normal values, ha. When we say breathing, normal breathing, ano yung dapat mong tandaan? Dapat may positive bilateral chest rise and fall actually. Ano ang normal RR value mo? 12 to 20 breaths per minute. And tandaan nyo lang na ang normal breathing kasi na nating mga tao is unnoticeable and it should be effortless. Okay? So yung mga SOB dyan, yung mga DOB dyan, yung hapong-hapo, sa tingin mo effortless yon? No. It's very full of effort. Chara! Isa pang indicator ng normal breathing mo. Isa pang dapat mong tandaan na normal value, ang inyong auto-saturation. Ang normal auto-saturation is more than what? 95%. How about your arterial oxygen level? Ano yun? 75 to 100 millimeters of mercury. Now, next, okay ka pa ba? Humihinga ka pa ba? Kalma ka. Next, we're gonna discuss the process kung bakit may cough at bakit may outer gas exchange at bakit merong alveolar collapse. Okay, kalma ka. Now, balikan natin tong the damage to type 2 pneumocyte will release what? Your inflammatory mediators that attracts neutrophils. Yes. Tandaan mo na naandyan din si neutrophils na lumalaban saan? Sa mga ganitong klaseng infection. What will neutrophils do? Neutrophils will actually go to the area of inflammation. Okay, ang bagal, memes. Ayan siya, Anong gagawin ng neutrophils mo? Susubukan niyang tirahin at kontrahin itong mga virus na to at pagsipain to palabas kasi hindi na kinaya ng alveolar macrophage, right? Tama ba? At itong process na to ng inflammation ng inyong type 2 pneumocyte, in-attract niya o nag-signal to para ma-release o pumunta sa area na to ang iyong neutrophils. Now, anong gagawin ng neutrophils mo? Neutrophils will actually try to destroy the virus by releasing what? Your reactive oxygen species such as your proteases. Tama? Now, this process of neutrophils attempting to destroy the virus may cause damage to type 1 and type 2 pneumocyte in your alveolar macrophage. As a result of this, it will affect what? The major functions of your yung mga parts na to ng yung alveoli. Una, type 1, ano yung ginagawa niya? Gas exchange, right? So magkakaroon ka ba ng increase or decrease gas exchange? Oh no! Kapag nasisira siya ng neutrophils. Syempre, purang gas exchange mo. Decrease gas exchange. Type 2, ano yun? Surfactant. Magkakaroon ka ba ng increase surfactant or decrease? Of course, decrease surfactant. Na anong sinabi natin? Increase surface tension plus increased collapsing pressure will lead to your alveolar collapse. Okay? So, mapapansin mo talaga sa pathophysiology ng isa lang ng iyong coronavirus, ang pinaka-ina-atake niya talaga is ang itong mga alveolar cells. Now, the process of neutrophils attempting to destroy the virus will destroy your type 1 and type 2 pneumocytes and alveolar macrophage. What will happen to the destroyed cells? Ito po sila, ayan ang mangyayari. Cells will start to shed off. And it will accumulate in the center of the of your alveolus. From this collection, ito yung process ng consolidation, you guys. From this collection of fluids, protein deposition, cellular debris, and neutrophils, consolidation process will occur. Pag sinabi mong consolidation, this is actually a process of making something more solid. So how this process of consolidation, accumulation of your fluids at the center of alveolus, of the patient's alveolus, manifest or will present to your patients. So, kaya pala nag-uubo ang pasyente ko. Why? Because the body is trying to expel this fluids out from the alveoli or the lung parenchyma. Kaya pala may ubo, may altered gas exchange, and alveolar collapse. Bakit? Saan nakuha tong ubo? Kasi meron kang consolidation dyan. Ilalabas yan ng katawan ng tao. Bakit ka may altered gas exchange? Bakit? Meron ka pa bang type 1 pneumocyte? Wala na. Kasi ano nangyari? Na-compress na siya, na-drown out na siya ng mga consolidation na to. At ano pa nangyari? Pinatay na siya ng neutrophils mo. Tama? Natira na siya ng neutrophils mo na technically hindi naman dapat niya talagang gawin, pero dahil pinapatay niya, tinatry niyang tanggalin mula sa sistema itong virus na to, nadadamay itong type 1 and type 2 pneumocyte mo. Ano pa? Bakit may alveolar collapse? Bakit? Gumagana pa ba ang type 2 pneumocyte mo? Hindi na. Decrease na ang surface tension mo. That could actually lead to increased collapsing pressure and will lead to your alveolar collapse. So what will happen if meron ka ditong altered gas exchange, no? Ano mangyayari niyan? This will actually lead to decrease partial pressure of oxygen and will lead to what? Hypoxemia. Okay, this is actually very deadly, especially kapag refractory na yung hypoxemia. Pag sinabi mong partial pressure of oxygen, this is the amount of what? Your oxygen dissolved in the blood, primarily measure the effectiveness of lungs to what? To pull the oxygen into the bloodstream from the atmosphere. This decrease in partial pressure, PO2, will actually stimulate specific chemoreceptors called what? Your peripheral chemoreceptors. Again, dahil may decreased partial pressure ka, saan nagmula tong decreased partial pressure na to? Nag-originate to sa altered gas exchange. Remember, apektado na ang yung type 1 pneumocyte, which is responsible for gas exchange. Ano mangyayari? Decreased partial pressure will lead to hypoxemia. And dahil may hypoxemia ka na, anong chemoreceptor yung pinaka-sensitive sa PO2 level mo? Ano yon? Ang iyong peripheral chemoreceptors. Peripheral chemoreceptors, this is actually, like I said, very sensitive to your PO2 level. Now, this is actually located primarily in the carotid body and are responsible for stimulating breathing in response to hypoxia. Now, chemoreceptor triggers the chemoreceptor reflex that causes what? Your sympathetic nervous response, okay? Or yung sympathetic nervous system. Now, dapat mo tandaan na when you talk about sympathetic nervous system, what? Everything goes up except for GI and GU. Kaya pala may increased heart rate. Ano to? Tachycardia. Anong normal value mo sa tachycardia mo? Ay yung sa heart rate natin. It is between 60 to 100 beats per minute. Okay. Kaya pala pwedeng may takip niya, nagtatakip niya. Ito o related siya dito, increased work of breathing. Compensatory mechanism ng katawan ng pasyente ang gumagana kapag nakikita mo siyang increase na ang kanyang heart rate. Normal heart rate mo, ang normal respiratory rate mo ulit is 12 to 20 cycles per minute. Now, ipaliwanag naman natin bakit nagkakaroon ng fever, okay? The process of replication will cause damage again to your type 2 pneumocyte. This damage will release what? Your inflammatory mediators to stimulate the alveolar macrophage. Now, may kinalaman itong pagkakaroon natin ng cytokines. Itong release ng mga cytokines at shifting ng cytokines mula sa alveoli papunta sa bloodstream. Now, what will happen if these cytokines, ang iyong interleukins 1, interleukin 6, at ang iyong tumor necrosis factor alpha comes in a large amount in the lung parenchyma? It will what? Travel to the bloodstream. Kita mo yan? Yes. Now, until it reached the central nervous system. Now, alam mo na sa central nervous system, it houses what? Your hypothalamus. Anong function ng hypothalamus mo? It regulates what? Body temperature. Interleukins 1 and interleukin 6 and your tumor necrosis factor will stimulate the hypothalamus to release specific prostaglandins such as your dinoprostone and your prostaglandin E2 o yung PGE2. Okay? Now, this PGE2 will what? PGE2 will reset the thermostat of the body causing what? Your fever. Now, nurses, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin, may lagnat lang yung pasyente ko. Kailangan alam mo yung normal values. Brush up lang natin. Normal value natin ng body temperature, if you're gonna talk about Fahrenheit, 97 degrees Fahrenheit to 99 degrees Fahrenheit. Anong equivalent no sa Celsius? 36.1 degrees Celsius up to 37.2 degrees Celsius. Paano mo masasabi ng pasyente mo ay may lagnat kapag ang body temperature niya is over what? 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit o 38 degrees Celsius. Okay? Now, this is the most common symptom ng iyong coronavirus. Kaya importante na alam mo yung normal values. Okay? So, paano nga ulit? Balikan natin. Paano nagkaroon ng fever, you guys? Mula sa shifting ng yung cytokines, comes in abundant amount, nag-shift sa bloodstream hanggang sa makatravel sila sa iyong CNS. Anong meron sa iyong CNS o yung central nervous system? It houses your hypothalamus which regulates your body temperature. Once na ma-reach na ng cytokines mo, itong interleukins 1, interleukin 6, at ang iyong tumor necrosis factor alpha, ang iyong hypothalamus is stimulate na to release what? Your PGE2. Once you have the release of that PGE2, it will what? Reset the thermostat of the body. And how will that show to your patient? It will show as fever. Okay, getting bells? Alright, getting bells. Now, we're gonna talk about itong process na to, itong whole process na to, we call that acute respiratory distress syndrome. Now, the whole process of this actually causes inflammation sa iyong lungs. Now, this is what we call acute respiratory distress syndrome. Now, this is a type of respiratory failure characterized by what? Rapid onset of widespread inflammation in the lungs. May inflammation ba tayo? Yes. May alveolar edema tayo? Yes, meron tayo niyan. Now, ARDS will lead to, lagyan lang natin ito para mas malinaw, SIRS. Pag sinabi mo SIRS, pamilyar mga nurses, Systemic Inflammatory Response Syndrome. Shoota ka. Now, SIRS is the exaggerated defense response of the body to a nauseous stressors. Ano yung mga klase ng mga stressors natin? Infection, trauma, surgery, acute inflammation, ischemia, poor perfusion, malignancy, at marami pang iba. Now, once the inflammation reached the what? The circulatory system through the bloodstream. Wag malilito. Ngayon, nasa na tayo? Nasa puso na tayo. Nasa puso na tayo. Okay. Now, this will cause what? Increased capillary permeability within the systemic circulation. Now, anong sinabi natin sa increased capillary permeability? Kasi guys, pag sinabi nating permeability, right? This is actually the ability of the cell to let the fluids come in and out. Tandaan mo yan. Pag increase ang capillary permeability mo, ano mangyayari? Bisaya ka girl? There will be leaking of fluids. This will actually result in accumulation of fluid in the intracellular spaces. From here, there's actually 3 things that could happen to your patient. Ano-ano yon? Una, decrease blood pressure. Bakit may decreased blood pressure? Kasi may vasodilation of the systemic arterioles which will lead to what? Decreased total peripheral vascular resistance. Pag sinabi nating TPR o yung total peripheral vascular resistance, ano nga ulit ito, nurses? Reviewin lang natin. This is the resistance that must be overcome to push blood through the circulatory system and create what? Flow. Ano pa mangyayari? Meron kang decrease blood volume. Alright? Now, decrease blood volume and decreased total peripheral vascular resistance will end up with low blood pressure, or what we call hypotension. Hypotension means that there's a decreased blood perfusion to the organs. Decreased blood perfusion to the organs will lead to what? It will lead to your multi-system organ failure. Paliwanag ko to tong mabilis lang. Sinabi natin na itong process na to ng inflammation sa ating respiratory system, it will travel to the bloodstream. So guys, ulitin natin, reviewin lang natin. Maaring magpunta lang siya sa simpleng ARDS, mapunta sa SIRS, at hanggang sa mapunta siya sa multi-system organ failure. Itong acute respiratory distress syndrome na to, paano siya magli-lead saan? Paano siya magli-lead sa iyong systemic inflammatory response syndrome? Kapag ang inflammation na to ng lungs ay nag-travel na saan? Sa iyong puso, sa heart, sa circulatory system, will cause increased capillary permeability within what? Within the systemic circulation. Now we understand that increased capillary permeability will result with leaking, nagli-leak. It will actually result to what? Accumulation of fluid in the intracellular spaces. Now from here, there's actually 3 things that could happen. Una, decrease ang blood pressure mo. Pangalawa, decrease ang blood volume mo. Pag decrease ang blood volume mo at decrease ang blood pressure mo, paano yung pressure? At sa tingin mo ba may enough perfusion ng blood sa mga body organs mo? Sa tingin mo ba, may enough blood flow na makakarating sa mga body or major body organs ng katawan ng pasyente mo? Wala. So, ano mangyari? May decrease perfusion. Ano yung decrease? Ano yung magli-lead nitong decrease perfusion na to? Multi-system organ failure. Nabigyan kita ng example, ha? Paano ba nagmamanifest? Nabubulol ba ako? Paano ba to nagmamanifest sa pasyente mo? Una, sa kidneys. Okay. Na sinabi natin na decrease ang blood perfusion sa kidneys. Paano to magmamanifest? Ano kaya mangyayari sa BUN and CREA mo? Tataas? Kaya rin pala chinecheck yung mga laboratories, no? Na mga pasyenteng ang BUN and CREA ng mga pasyenteng nagko-COVID, kasi pwedeng indication yon ng meron ng multi-system organ failure. Posibleng indication siya na nagkakaroon na ng multi-system organ failure kasi hindi na enough yung perfusion ng blood flow sa kidneys mo. Ano bang ibig sabihin nito pag may increased BUN and CREA? This means that the kidney damage due to the reason that kidneys were not able to eliminate your BUN and CREA. Again, anong normal values mo? BUN and CREA, blood urea nitrogen mo, approximately what? Approximately 7 to 20 milligrams per DL or deciliter. Ano pa? Anong normal values mo ng creatinine? 0.84 to 1.21 milligrams per DL. So, ano pa? Ano pang body organ na pwedeng matamaan mo? Pangalawa, ang liver. Yes, decreased blood perfusion sa iyong liver will triggers the release of what? Naalala mo pa to? Yung mga AST, ALT, bilirubin. Naalala mo pa yan sila? At naalala mo pa rin yung mga acute phase reactive proteins natin such as your C-reactive protein, your serum amyloid A, at ang yung serum amyloid P. Ano mangyayari dito? Increase po. Magi-increase silang lahat. Kaya rin pala nagli-liver function test ang mga pasyenteng na-infect ng coronavirus, lalo na yung mga severe. Kasi para matingnan kung hanggang saan yung extent ng damage ng coronavirus sa kanila. Because increased laboratory levels of these values will actually indicate or might possibly tell us that the patient is suffering from a multi-system organ failure. Tama ba? Okay. Nabibigyan kita ng time to make a screenshot of this. Gamitin mo to as reviewer mo, baby loves, ha? I hope talaga makatulong ito sa'yo. Ayan. Mag-screenshot ka na. Now, you guys, ready na ba kayo sa ating pa-short quiz ni Mayor?
OMG!
Yes, 10 items po ito, ha? So, itatackle natin dito yung about sa mga diniscuss natin, and then I'll give you time like 5 minutes to answer this. After ng 5 minutes, sasagutan natin, magra-rationalize tayo. So, here it is. I hope you enjoyed this quiz, okay? Okay, welcome back everybody. Nag-enjoy ba kayo dun sa ating quiz ni Mayor, ha? Gusto ko ilagay niyo yung score niyo sa baba para malaman ko kung effective ba yung ating discussion, ha? Or if you have other suggestions about other topics that you want us to discuss anything about corona or anything about nursing, you let me know sa comment section sa baba. Okay, sagutan na natin ito. Mag-rationalize na tayo. Number 1, what is the primary mode of transmission of COVID-19? Keyword mo dito, primary mode. Okay, primary mode. Una, is it A, respiratory droplet, airborne, oral fecal route, food transmission? Ang sagot, letter A. Yes, you guys. Guys, I know that we discussed about airborne, oral fecal route, but we didn't really discuss a food transmission. So kung yan ang sagot mo, girl, nagigigil ako sa shoot ka, hindi ka nakikinig. Balikan mo yung video na to. Primary mode, yun ang key term mo. Anong sinabi ng WHO, ang CDC mo? Up until now, the primary mode of transmission is respiratory droplet. Airborne and oral fecal route there's still an ongoing debate as per this, and there's still trying to really do a lot more research when it comes to these modes of transmission and identifying if it is indeed transmitted through airborne or oral fecal route. Next, the process of viral replication takes place in saan to? Is it in macrophage, type 1 pneumocyte, or type 2 pneumocyte? The answer, type 2 pneumocyte. Period. Next, this provides the entry point of the SARS-CoV-2 to hook into and infect a wide range of human cells. Is it A, cytoplasm, ribosome, angiotensin converting enzyme 2, or your cytokines? Ang sagot, ano to? Ano yung hook? Naalala mo example ko kanina sa pathophysiology o yung sa process ng replication niya? Yung susi at kandado, alin dito daw yung kandado? Is it? The answer is your angiotensin ACE2. Okay? Yung susi, yung spike, yung ACE2, yan ang iyong what? Kandado. Next, leaking of plasma proteins due to vasodilation and increased capillary permeability in the blank causes compression of the alveoli. Is it A, into the alveoli, B, interstitial spaces, C, both A and B, D, none of the above? Ang sagot dito, guys, di ba sabi ko sa inyo, kapag nagkaroon ng leaking ng plasma protein saan? Sa due to increased capillary permeability, ano mangyayari? It can either go to sa iyong alveoli or mag-leak siya sa iyong interstitial spaces. Now, ang effect nun depende kung saan nag-leak. Kapag sa interstitial space, anong mangyayari? Magkakaroon ng compression ng alveoli. Bakit? Hindi makakapag-expand ng mabuti yung alveoli. Kapag sa alveoli, ano mangyayari? Drowning of your surfactants. Right? Naalala mo? So the answer here is letter B. Next, number 5. Damage to type 2 pneumocytes will release inflammatory mediators that attracts blank. Is it A, neutrophils, B, reactive oxygen species, C, proteases? The answer here is A. Why? Reactive oxygen species and proteases were actually released by your neutrophils. But the one who's actually released or attracts or being attracted by the release or the damage to your pneumocyte because of the release inflammatory mediators ay yung neutrophils. Next, number 6. What is the major function of your type 2 pneumocyte? Pag mali ka dito, shoot kang gigigil ako sa'yo. Balikan mo yung video. Is it A, gas exchange, B, detection of phagocytosis, detection, phagocytosis, and destruction of bacteria and another harmful organism, or C, production of surfactant? Ang sagot, letter C. Wala nang iba. Number 7, the process of neutrophils attempting to destroy the virus will destroy type 1 and type 2 pneumocytes in your alveolar macrophage. Cells will start to shed off and accumulate in the center of the alveolus. This process of making something more solid is called, consolidation. Yes, consolidation nga po, mga mamshi. Next, large number of cytokines in the lung parenchyma will travel to the bloodstream and potentially reach the central nervous system. Stimulation of the blank will release specific prostaglandins such as your PGE2, which will reset the thermostat of the body. Ano nga ulit ang makikita mo sa central nervous system mo? Hypothalamus. Naalala mo yung diniscuss natin kung bakit nagkakaroon ng fever sa pathophysiology ng iyong COVID-19? Ito yun. Next, number 9. Blank is the exaggerated defense response of the body to a nauseous stressors. Example, your infection, trauma, surgery, acute inflammation, ischemia, or perfusion, malignancy, etc. Ano to? Ang sagot dito ay Sears. Pwedeng Sears lang lagay mo o kung masipag ka, marami kang time, pwede mong ilagay yung buong definition niya. Pag nilagay mo yung buong definition, ilagay mo dyan systemic inflammatory response syndrome. Okay? Next, number 10. In systemic inflammatory response syndrome, decreased blood pressure caused by vasodilation of systemic arterioles will lead to what? Is it A, increased capillary permeability, decreased cytokines, C, decreased gas exchange, or D, decreased total peripheral vascular resistance? Anong sagot dito? Letter D. Yes. Now, decreased total peripheral vascular resistance, once the transmission reaches the circulatory system through the bloodstream, it will cause increased capillary permeability within the systemic circulation. Now, you need to understand, and discuss natin to ha, ulitin ko, increased capillary permeability will result to what? Leaking of fluids. This will result in accumulation of fluid in the intracellular spaces. From here, there's actually a couple of things that will happen. You can expect to what? Have a decreased blood pressure due to vasodilation of systemic arterioles, which will lead to decreased total peripheral vascular resistance o ang inyong TPR. Okay, you guys, tell me how do you find the exam? Was it difficult, easy, moderate? Okay, so kung ilan ang score mo, ilagay mo sa baba ha. I hope na sana sana may natutunan ka. I hope so na magamit mo ito sa pagre-review mo, okay? Now, gusto kong tapusin na to sa pagpapasalamat sa inyo. Maraming salamat po sa inyong walang sawa at patuloy na pagtangkilik sa content na ito ng aking channel. Alam nyo po, labis nyo akong pinasasaya. Kaya naman, paramihin pa natin ang ating tropang kulto. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more nursing educational videos, okay? Also, let me know if you have other nursing topics that you want us to do. Comment it down below. Kung hindi ka pa nagsasubscribe, mag-subscribe ka na. Thank you, baby lumps. Love.
Thank you so much, you guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. Help me grow my channel. #Team Kulto. Give this video a big thumbs up and share it with your friends. Let me know what you guys think. You put them down in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to check out the other playlists I created for you. I'll be putting the links on the description box, or simply click this icon button right here. Let's connect. Follow me on all my other social media accounts. Everything is at Neil Gave. I'll see you again.